Hey everybody, we're back. I don't know what that was, but felt good. How you doing?
Yeah. Hey Nate, how you doing, man?
I'm good.
Love the mental health t-shirt that you have on.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
decided it would probably be a smart idea if I'm trying to make money off this stuff to wear one of the designs that I have. I'm not sure if I have this one up currently, but I'll double check today because I'm adding some stuff today.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, doing good. Just got out of the shower super late in the day for a
Yeah.
37-year-old, but that's fine. I've been up since like 6 or 7 a.m. So.
Yeah. The art that you shared today looks pretty cool. Love the colors.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I've been trying to do an hour a day of that or the iPad. Um, if I don't do it constantly, it's like sometimes it's cool when an artist like their skills regress a little bit because they get more like to their nature. But I I have issues like with that. I like to stay in practice, or else I
Of
tend to
course, of course.
sort of
Yeah,
like a
no, that's awesome that you
conversation
have
tablet.
like an hour a day dedicated to that.
Yeah.
That's really how it is, right? I think it's Stephen King, right? He's
Mhm.
basically I've come across his like writings where he says, "Hey guys, don't fucking sit around and wait for inspiration. Get up, dedicate some time and do it, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes it will be really hard and you will only some stupid stuff will come out of you. Sometimes there will be awesome stuff, right? But it's about consistency and your dedicated time, and that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
And there's also this lady, I forgot her name, Julia, somebody like, she has this book, The Artist Way.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, I think we might have talked about it some
Yeah,
time
I think
ago.
so.
Julia
Yeah.
Cameron, I think her name is. And again, the book is for creatives, for people
Mhm.
who want to unlock their creative potential. And the book is full of, again, similar recommendations, like, just do it kind of thing, right? So it's
Yeah.
awesome that you do it. And let me ask you, so you create this art, right? But obviously, one aspect of this is creating your art, but then also sharing it. How
Yeah.
do you go about sharing it? What do you do for that?
So so I kind of like I've been holding myself back a lot. Like I've been, like worried about if people are gonna if it gets enough likes and all the bullshit that I shouldn't really care
Yeah, yeah,
about.
yeah. I mean,
So
some
like,
people, I can,
yeah,
guarantee you, stop worrying. Some
yeah.
people tell you that this is bullshit and this sucks. Of course they will,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, and I know it's not true
And
because on
many people will
Instagram,
ignore it, yeah.
yeah, like so I'll share on Instagram and X
Okay.
and I need to get more active with it because there's a lot of stuff I haven't even shared yet, which I
Yeah.
like the work, but generally back to the part real quick about like the likes and the bullshit. It is bullshit because like I'll get depressed about getting like one or two likes on X, but then I'll get like several hundred on Instagram and people aren't getting that
Yeah,
combined. And I'm
yeah.
like, I'm only looking at the bad and not like how successful it is on the other side. So,
But it's actually, it's not bullshit at all. It's a very important topic, the topic of
yeah.
self-worth, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like for most humans, it's such a deep issue that most humans really struggle with that. Like,
Yeah.
what am I? What am I worth? Like, do
Even the
people see
self-talk
me?
related
What's
to it.
the, what am I worth? And blah, blah, blah. It used to be the case for me too, and it was
Yeah.
so fucking painful,
Yeah, it
right?
sucks. And then the inner monologue of like, oh, you fucking suck. Like that, you
Yeah,
did
yeah,
this
yeah.
wrong. Or like if I'm like doing like a piece of art, like it's my art. It can be however the fuck it comes out, but for some reason I'm like that's wrong, and I'll be like you did that line wrong, or that's the wrong color, and it's not
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it, but in the moment it's fucking
yeah,
insane. Is that
yes.
a doorbell?
Yeah, no, it's just some stuff for my daughter, so she'll pick it
You
up.
can get it if you need to. I don't care.
No, no, it's good. It's good.
Okay, but yeah, it's that, and then back to the routine of it.
Uh huh.
Stephen Pressfield has that book, like The War of Art.
Yeah,
Clever
yeah.
play on the art of
Cool
war, the
book. Yeah, yeah,
title.
yeah. No, I read it a long time ago.
Yeah, and I think he might talk about Stephen King and that, but the idea was that the muse or whatever people want to call it, that creative energy that comes to you that occurs, it
Yes.
tends to occur like upon the law of averages. Like you have to sit
Yeah,
there,
totally, totally.
like anything else, like sales or
Because
anything you
also
do.
every day, right? Every day can feel so different, right?
Oh,
People
fuck.
underestimate that because in our simplistic story of what's happening, we're like, oh yeah, tomorrow I'll get up and I'll do this and that. But you know what? You don't know how it will be tomorrow,
No.
right? Tomorrow you might feel like shit and you might not feel like getting up or might not feel like this and that. And it's a very interesting dynamic, if you will, because there are two extremes. One extreme is like full on discipline. Let's do it, right? And the other extreme is, I'll do stuff when I feel like it. I'm sensitive and creative. And I used to be, for me, the discipline approach used to be dominant. Like, I would just keep doing stuff. And it was very powerful, but also that lack of sensitivity would sometimes really mess me up. Like, I was tired and sick, but I would still exercise and whatever. And then I would injure myself and I would not take good care of myself after that injury and stuff like that, right? But on the other side, just being sensitive and not persevering, there are downsides to that too, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of like that now I'm 52 and I kind of feel that my organism developed, there is a range accessible to me. I can be very disciplined. There are still many things that I keep doing. But also, at any given day, if it feels right to me, I can say, fuck it, and skip a particular thing, not do it and whatever, right? Because, what, maybe today there's some deep sadness, or maybe there's some pain and I need to recover, and I don't, even though it was planned for me, was the plan to do this, but it doesn't feel right now, right? So yeah, there's no universal answer, right? Because we always want to find universal answers, and there are all these books. Just do it, discipline. Yeah, very powerful, and also can really fuck you up and can really affect people around you because they're like, oh, this guy doesn't care, he just does his thing, right? Like, and I'm guilty of that. I've done plenty of that, right?
Yeah,
But
I mean, I live out a really simplistic version every day of what you're talking about, and it's that I try to play my guitar for an hour a day and do my art for an hour a day. And if I do more than an hour a day of one, it will make my hand sore, kind of like pre-arthritis, like whatever that is. Like it just my hands get sore, right?
Yeah.
So if I do too much guitar or too much art, I can't do enough guitar or enough art. So I have to strike this balance, and it's just like everything in life. I mean, if I put too much time into myself, my family feels like they're not getting any of me. If I put too much time into them, I don't get anything for myself out of me. It's this whole crazy. And then, like you said too, how are we going to wake up feeling each day? Like, are there different souls inside of you, like battling it out to the death every day? It's kind of how it feels to me sometimes. I don't know. I mean, with that in mind, we don't fucking know. So the routine, the consistency, it's been really helping me, like, so much in between.
But as I said, right, it's kind of like some people, every human typically have a dominant side, whether that's being sensitive or being disciplined, which really means like suppressing the pain or just being sensitive to the current moment. But here's the deal, right? Sometimes one approach or the other just a better answer to the current moment, right? It's not a universal answer anyway. And kind of wanted to go back to what we started with this discussion with, like, your art is awesome. That I hope that kind of you have this, you produce it, right, but then you share it on a consistent basis, right? And also, like today, I mentioned to you when I saw that one of your new art pieces, I'm like, oh, I really like that. I would actually love to get a piece of your art on some merchandise, right? Like, can you build a pipeline to that? And that's becoming easier these days, right? There are services where you can just upload an image and then people can get like a mug or a t-shirt or whatever it is, right? Like they want to with that.
Write it down and remind myself, by the way, because I was going to do this next, actually, because I'm on the computer. So it's
if you can build a simple pipeline for that, right? Yeah.
That's one area where I struggle, but it doesn't mean that like it won't be successful or whatever we want to call it, because like I feel myself getting closer every day to not caring like what people think of it or whatever, in a good way. Like so, and I've just been trying to share more often, but something about I'm so good at thinking about business as far as like the big, like what's the big look at it, or like what's somebody else doing? What are they doing right or wrong? Analyzing them. But when it comes to my art and monetizing that situation, for some reason, I go fucking blank. Like, you know how some people like they go like they're very confident in all areas, and they go to talk to a woman, and it's like they can't talk or something. They just can't think. It's like that with my business art stuff, and I'm learning how to do that. I'm overcoming it. Like you have to, obviously, or else it won't be what you
Yeah,
can.
like the word overcoming is an interesting word because
Right.
I don't quite like it because for me it's a bit different, right? Because overcoming really means that we don't like this aspect of ourselves,
Mm.
and then we really try to change it, but we don't really. When we do that, it's our rejection, right?
Right.
But this is a part of ourselves. It's an important part of ourselves. It's there for some important reasons. Like for some reason, you know, particular human has this pattern of how they're kind of trying to keep themselves safe and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I also used to think of myself as not confident enough and this and that. And I look back and later in my life and realized that's such bullshit because,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
I
you
mean,
did
in
it.
this context, I was very confident and, you know, I built a bunch of companies and I've led many people and whatnot. And yeah, there are situations where I have been very scared and embarrassed and unconfident, and we all have those comfort zones and new stations and whatnot. So there is nothing wrong with being unconfident. It's more like so for me, it's not about overcoming so much. It's about looking at the situation, right? And when stuff is happening, it really means that there are some powerful drivers behind it, right? So if we see ourselves getting scared, embarrassed, unable to do something, unconfident, whatever, right? It really means that there is some part of us that that can use some love and nurturing, right? And when we try to just like, hey, you, shut up, you have to do it, right?
Yeah.
I don't like this. This is bullshit. It's a very painful way to live. But if instead we can hold it in our compassion, it's like, oh wow, yeah. I mean, you're fucking human. Of course you're scared. Of course, you
Yeah.
know, sometimes you're not confident. Sometimes you're this. Like, but can you hold it and love that part? And it can eventually just blossom. And you know, it's not a problem. It's like I have this cat, which I inherited from my ex-girlfriend. She left it for me, and I love this cat. And it used to be very scared of me. Like the first year it lived with me, I wouldn't see her during the day because she would be hiding under a sofa all the time and only come out at night. But it has changed, right? And now she wants to be petted and she wants to cuddle with me more and more. But here's the thing, right? If I try to overcome her fear, she just tries to run away because she has her own agenda. And
Yeah.
it might be strange to think of ourselves that way, but also those aspects of ourselves that we might not want to like and we want to overcome them, right? It can be actually violent toward that pattern, right? And there can be a lot of struggle and suffering from that. And if we can instead just like hold it and that compassion and understanding and love it and love ourselves with all of our flaws,
Yeah.
then those flaws, you know, like all those aspects that they change much more easily when they are not. It's hard to talk about this stuff, right? But
Yeah.
that expression about what we resist persists, right? And if
Mhm.
there's part of us that is scared sometimes, right? But then we resist being scared. So being scared will persist because we're kind of trying to reject that fact. We blind to the fact that there are some powerful patterns in ourselves that drive that behavior, and they are absolutely totally valid from the point of view of this organism versus my limited mental understanding of that.
Yeah,
So
it's like that saying, like your attention, like what is it? Like energy grows where your attention goes, or your attention.
right,
There's some saying like that. So yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like we're feeding it and we don't realize it for sure. Yeah, it made me think of like a dandelion, like when you blow the seeds off and they go into the wind, and
Yeah,
like the wind taking them naturally versus somebody like stomping the flower into the ground, knowing that
right.
if it gets
Yes,
stomped in the
yes.
mud, it'll probably grow too. That's like the
Yes.
visual it gave me, which is kind of fucking intense too.
Yeah, it reminds me of another metaphor. Like I've built a number of businesses in my life, right? And I like mentored and coached people who are building businesses, right? And one metaphor for me that's quite important, useful is that sometimes, or a lot of the times, building a business is like growing a tree. You
Mm.
put it into the soil, you put in nutrients, you water it, but then there's a natural process, right? The seasons, the time, the wind, all of that. And then you have to look out for pests, you have to protect it from extreme weather and stuff like that. But beyond that, you can do crazy dances and you can bring goats and sacrifice goats around it,
Yeah.
but it will not speed up its growth, right? So, like this sensitivity to how can I contribute to this process unfolding, but then also acceptance and patience of this is the natural rate of this process and how much I might scream at this tree, it's not going to grow fast, right? And the same with
Yeah.
business, right? Because quite often in my own business, I remember when like, oh, we have to grow it like, let's say, whatever, 50% this year, right? And for a lot of businesses, unless you're a really early startup, growing at 50% a year, it's really fucking hard. It's very difficult. It requires a lot of effort, a lot of money.
Yeah.
But then the question some people miss quite a lot is like, okay, but why 50%? Well, I mean, this company and this guy. It's like, okay, but you're not that company, you're not that guy, you're not in this business, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is actually a natural, realistic rate of growth for this? And I found that it's, you can actually enjoy so much more when you're aligned with the natural
Yeah.
timeline of how things unfold versus kind of constantly trying to force things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ironically enough, the only thing that you can do to the tree to help it actually grow faster is to pile bullshit around it.
Yeah.
Fertilizer.
Right. Yeah.
Like the more shit you pile up, which seems like horrible. That's actually the only way. It's like the dancing and praying and all that, it's still
Yeah. Yeah.
susceptible to the will of the seasons and earth and God or
Yeah.
whatever you call it. It's
Yeah.
like pretty fucking intense.
Yeah.
And
And
it
you
is
know
an
what?
interesting
And
thing.
sometimes that tree will die.
It dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens. That happens, right?
It's
And then you
okay.
can
You
like,
can
oh,
plan.
it's me. I didn't do this and that. But that's also inevitable part of
Yeah.
everything.
Or it just doesn't produce fruit and it's just like a cool
Yeah.
looking tree. And
Totally.
that's another thing. Like I've got two trees in my front yard. There's a plum tree and a pear tree. Or no, a pear tree, a plum tree, and a peach tree. I got it wrong. It's
Nice.
three. I can't count apparently.
Yeah.
But the plum tree, it's as tall and it's growing as big as everything else, but it stopped producing fruit and it's got like this like weird fungus on it. But it keeps
Oh.
growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just not producing anything. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and then the trees around it are doing great. And it's like there was so much fruit on it this year, the limbs were literally snapping under the weight of the fruit. It was intense.
Yeah.
So like, and they're in the same environment, and they're in the same
Uh,
exact soil, like feet away from each other.
yeah.
It's crazy. It's a cool metaphor for people, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like in these businesses or whatever we're building. My art, for instance,
Yes.
it's like this tree that might die, and that's fine because it's still art. I can redo it. I can make and try to plant a new tree. So this is a
Yeah.
growing process, I guess. Like when it comes to the me not putting it out as much and everything to kind of bring it full circle, I I know it's like it's starting to happen slowly but surely. And it's been a long process. Like I've told you some of the crazy shit I've experienced in the last couple of years, and like that's all leading to me getting better at putting this stuff out, having,
Hmm.
if we want to call it the courage or whatever, like I'm defying my fear and trying to put it out more. Um, but it's been a fucking crazy process. Like my tree, my metaphorical tree was not producing any fruit for a long time. I was
Mm,
just taking in resources.
right.
Um, yeah. And no matter how much somebody danced around me or sacrificed animals, I was on the path to dying. But
Hmm.
somehow it turned around. I don't know. I mean, I have my own ideas, obviously, but um, like I got so low as to thinking like I heard the voice of a saint talking to me. So I'm like,
Cool.
like I told you that time, it's like
Yeah.
I heard a voice, and like that was like, and I was also coincidentally at a very low point in my life, which was intense. So I know what the implications of that are. It seems to happen to people when they're under crazy amounts of stress. And also, I believe it was real. So there's like this fucking crazy thing,
Hmm.
and whatever it was, it's contributing to me being. I feel better now. So I had to go through that a lot of psychotic experiences, or at least they felt that way at the time. And now I feel
Hmm.
balanced due to those. Like I lean on those experiences, and I talk about them, and I think about them, and it kind of
Hmm.
gives me something, keeps me pushing somehow. It's very weird.
Yeah, life becomes so much easier when like feeling that you going mad or feeling scared can feel very scary.
Yeah, it's hard to
But
even talk
also it's
about.
kind of very normal, right?
Yeah,
And sometimes when it's very intense, we can ask for help, all kinds of help out there.
yeah,
But the key thing is, overall is really seeing that it's all inevitable and, if you will, normal part of life.
yeah.
Being very scared, sometimes feeling like you're going crazy. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, I worry on my bad days. I'm like, maybe I died and this is hell.
Hmm.
And it's like a really slow hell where you know you're gonna die one day, you don't know what's gonna happen,
Yeah.
and nothing changes and blah blah blah. And then like the sun will come out the next day. You're like, oh, maybe it's just like cloudy, and I'm like a little bit chemically imbalanced, and I felt like
Right.
super depressed. So yeah, like it's a fucking weird experience for everybody. I genuinely think that sometimes. I'm like, maybe this is like a weird like dimension that I don't know. Like, what the fuck is life? What is this shit? It's crazy.
Ah.
I love when we get to that point where we're just like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah. It's a mystery.
Fun. I don't know, man. It's crazy. I don't know. I have
Me
nothing else to
neither.
say
Me
about it,
neither.
honestly. Like, once I
It's
think about
it's
that
more
shit,
like,
like,
like I've been looking for answers all of my life, and I found many sophisticated answers. But eventually, it's not like a final answer was found, but it's more. It became very obvious that I mean the questions have dissolved,
yeah,
because it became obvious that anything that's happening, it can be conceptualized in so many different ways. It can be conceptualized from many different perspectives, like, oh, it's this way because this guy is doing this to me and blah blah blah. It can be conceptualized in an opposite way. It's like, I'm doing this and this is the way he's reacting. It can be conceptualized from above here, like, oh, this is a human, that's a human, and this is what they do, and actually sometimes can be not conceptualized at all.
yeah,
It's like scientists talk about this, that before the human cortex developed this way of additional layers of conceptualizing, then there's this primordial non-conceptual perception of the world, right? And that's people sometimes achieve those uh, states of perception, perceiving that through meditation or psychedelics, or just randomly because of some physical reasons or whatever. Yeah.
yeah. It's cool when you just go blank sometimes. I don't know if you ever do that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
it's like split seconds though. You can't sustain it without drugs for some
Right.
reason.
Right.
It's cool. Anything else you want to talk about? I don't want to like drain the
I
like
think we
drain
covered
space.
a lot of different things here, from
Yeah.
self-worth to discipline to being sensitive. Yeah.
I'm glad you said that too. That because I'm gonna use AI to help recap this because I'm like super
Yep.
unorganized sometimes. So the fact that you
Yeah.
just said that at the end, it'll topic those. It's
Yeah.
actually really cool. But
Cool. Cool.
all right, we'll just leave it there. Fuck it. I always do
Sounds
too much.
good. Good to talk to you, Nate.
I love you. I'll see you soon.
Love you.
All right, let me try to turn this off.